Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. Welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today's battles, because there are two of them, both have a few things in common. Amazing endings, and also fairly long periods during the actual battle itself where there's not an awful lot going on. Particularly our first battle with Bad Zeit here in the Jingles.B, which is a great ship by the way. It's the black edition of the regular. Well, I say regular. There's nothing regular about the Jingles. Both editions of the Jingles are premium. I feel like I don't want to claim responsibility for the black editions of the ships in World of Warships, but I did make a point regarding Wargaming's business model in a video several years ago. This was right after I left the World of Warships Community Contributor Program. And pretty much anybody who'd spent more than half an hour in World of Warships was of the opinion at the time, and I think it was 100% true at the time. I'm not 100% sure it's true now, because things have improved since. But at the time, pretty much everybody was of the opinion that Wargaming just did not care. They did not give two shits about people like us, who have invested time and money into the game. It was as if Wargaming were only concerned about attracting new players, and they really didn't give a shit about veterans. And I believe that was true. I made a video at the time talking about how I firmly believe that Wargaming's business policy was focused around churn. They didn't care if they lost veteran players, as long as they had lots and lots of new suckers coming in. Because if there's 500 ships in the game, and I'm just pulling numbers out my arse here for the sake of an example, but if there's 500 ships in the game and 200 of them are premiums, and you've been playing the game for 5 years and you already have 100 of those premium ships, there's only another 100 they can sell you. Except if you'd spent 5 years in World of Warships, by that point you were probably, like most of us were, getting extremely cynical about Wargaming's business model, and were highly unlikely to be willing to put any more money into their pocket and buy more premium ships. So I and many others firmly believed, at the time at least, things have improved since, but we firmly believed that Wargaming's business model centred around getting new players in who had not yet had time to understand the massive depth of contempt in which Wargaming actually held their player base, and sell the new players as many premium ships as they could, before the new players became wise and cynical old veterans like the rest of us and realised just exactly what a contemptuous bunch of shits Wargaming actually were, and stopped putting their hands into their pockets. Because at the end of the day, once you've sold somebody a premium ship, you can't sell them the same ship again. You need to bring new players in. And then Wargaming said, hold my vodka, and introduced the black edition of premium ships, proving that you can actually sell somebody the same premium ship twice. Actually, if you start taking into account things like the Azure Lane and Fleet of Fog versions, you can sell somebody the same premium ship 4 or 5 times. But anyway, I digress. I do think that things have changed for the better since I left the community contributor program, though. I mean, certainly not overnight. It took years. And there have been a couple of steps back, but I think overall there have been more steps forward than, not. But anyway, enough about ancient history. All of that just to say that, yeah, he's in the Jingles black. So, like I said, fairly slow start. However, there was a remarkable moment quite early on in this battle. I mean, both of these replays that you're watching today, they're all about the end. And it's not that there's nothing happened until the end of the battle in this particular battle. But there were long stretches of not an awful lot going on. However, early on in this battle, something pretty remarkable did happen. Not as remarkable as the end of the battle, but definitely something worth watching. You see the friendly Chungmu over there on the right? He's already lost half of his health. Pay attention to that guy, because he is about to have a very bad day. There it is. He's just found the enemy Yugumo. Now, the Yugumo is not a gunboat, and the Chungmu is, and the Chungmu should easily be able to take a Yugumo in a gunfight, if they both start on full health. And the Chungmu didn't. And the Yugumo's guns may not fire quickly, but they hit hard. So there was an excellent chance that the Yugumo could have won that gunfight. And then everybody on the team with line of sight and the guns loaded switched to the Yugumo and defended the Chungmu. Now, if you're new here, you might be thinking, isn't that what's supposed to happen? Yeah, But that doesn't mean it does, which is why it's so remarkable when you actually see it happening. Another enemy destroyer thinks he's going to take on the low-health Chung Mu. Once again, team to the rescue, forcing the Z-46 to smoke up. I mean, you could argue that, well, you know, people are just battleship players in particular. They spot a destroyer, they're like, get that destroyer before he torpedoes me. And yeah, there's probably an element of that involved. But that Yugamo got obliterated by people who were in no danger of getting torpedoed by him. That was just teammate in trouble, drop what you're doing, come to his assistance. Alright, that's really suspicious. Okay, he got the Z-46, but the Z-46 got spanked, dropped his smoke, sailed into cover, turned around and came back. And the only logical reason for doing that was to get his torpedoes away. Now, that's not necessarily the reason why he did it. I said it was the logical reason. People do things in World of Warships for all kinds of reasons. Not all of them are logical, but just in case. Sharp turn to the right, just to ensure the island. And yeah, it didn't look like the Z-46 actually had the firing arc anyway. So we're all good. Oh, can I just point something out in this battle? This amused me as well. So 3 destroyers per side, although, you know, substantially less than that right now. 2 destroyers down and a submarine down on the enemy team, 1 battleship and 1 destroyer down on Bad Zeit's team, but 3 destroyers per team, at least at the start, in a 3-cap circle match. There are no aircraft carriers, so nobody's getting spotted from the air, and the only ships on each team who could possibly have radar are the destroyers themselves, the Chung Mu on Bad Zeit's team and the USS Black on the enemy team. And despite that, look at the minimap. The central cap at Bravo. That's an Anhalt. That's a battleship attempting to take the cap. Although, you know, he got sunk. But he was the one trying to take the cap circle. And Bad Zeit himself here is going to be flipping the cap circle all the way up here at Charlie. 3 destroyers per team, 3 cap circles. The destroyers themselves are the radar threat. There's no aircraft carrier to air spot them, and it's the battleships who are taking the cap circles. Anyway, this is the point where we are going to skip ahead for the next 5 or 6 minutes or so. It's not that nothing happens in the next 5 or 6 minutes, it's just that what does happen tends to happen elsewhere on the map. Note the Azima, actually it's the black edition of the Azima B over there, who has been doing a remarkably good job of avoiding getting killed by Bad Zeit here. The rest of his teammates, not so much, although they are between them still 100 points ahead, with his other 2 surviving teammates consisting of the Los Andes, just off screen over there to the right, and the USS Black. There he is, he just popped up, and he may or may not have radar. Either way, once again, everybody instantly switches fire to the enemy destroyer, although I'm not sure it's going to be in time to save the Chung Mu this time. He's also getting shot at by the Los Andes secondaries. They're probably going to get the Black, but they're probably going to lose the Chung Mu in the process. Yep, he's down, taken out by the Los Andes secondaries, but the Chung Mu did manage to get shots into the air and took the Black down with him. The enemy team, and for once in a World of Warships replay, the scores are actually the right way around, are at 802 points, 805 points to Bad Zeit's team, 600, actually 701 now. They do have a 1 cap advantage. They now have a 2 kill advantage. Bad Zeit's team do still have a destroyer, the Jaeger over there. Now, you would think that a destroyer like the Jaeger, and we've featured a couple of Jaeger replays in the last couple of months, a destroyer like the Jaeger would easily be able to make short work of any battleship, particularly a battleship like the Los Andes, which does not have radar. I mean, most battleships don't, but it also doesn't have hydro. Oh, and for those who are wondering, the reason why we had to skip ahead, because there wasn't an awful lot happening in the previous 5 or 6 minutes, was because Bad Zeit here is absolutely terrified of the Los Andes, who just took out the Navarin, the other friendly battleship, the Tier 9, and took out the Jaeger. What the hell is going on? But not before Bad Zeit's division mate in the Andalusia managed to finish him off. So, it's 2 against 1. The surviving enemy ship is that Azima. The one that, well, Bad Zeit here spent most of the preceding 6 minutes trying and failing to kill. The enemy team are, however, at 900 points, thanks to the Herculean efforts of the enemy Los Andes before he went down. With the enemy team at less than 90 points away from winning, they're going to reach 1,000 points and win. Even with only one cap circle, they are going to reach 1,000 points and win before the end of the battle, which has less than 3 minutes to run. It'll take less than 3 minutes with one cap circle for them to reach 1,000 points. Unless they can catch and kill the Azima. But the Azima just spent the last 7 minutes either running away or avoiding getting killed by Bad Zeit here in the Jingles.business. Notice his division mate firing the guns at random there. He's doing that to see whether or not he gets detected, so he knows A, whether or not the Azima is within line of sight, and B, whether or not the Azima is within range of his guns. Because if you can't see anything and you fire the guns and the "oh, somebody can see me" alert goes off, well, you know somebody's within line of sight and they're within shooting range. Sadly, however, that Azima is too smart for that old trick. His teammate in the Andalusia is getting nothing. Wherever the Azima is, he can't see them. So, with the enemy team now on, what's the score? Yikes, 956 points, 44 points away from winning. Can they reach the cap circle at Alpha, get in there, and prevent the enemy team from reaching 1,000 points in the next 1 minute and 44 seconds? And that's not all they have to do, by the way, because they are still behind on points by like 100. Even with the one cap advantage, they have to not only prevent the enemy team from accumulating further points by contesting that cap circle, they also have to overhaul the enemy team's point score in the 1 minute and 25 seconds that are remaining. Or catch and kill the Azima. Either will do. Enemy team 33 points away from winning. Enemy team 20 points away from winning. I think they're going to make it. I think they are going to make it into that cap circle. What point score the enemy team are going to be on when they get there remains to be seen, but it's not going to be 1,000. 986, 989. Remember, the midline of the ship has to get over the border of the cap circle. 992 points, and there it is. It's contested. There's less than a minute to go, however, and they have to make up 61 points in about 40 seconds in order to win. I think they can do it. Unless the Azima kills one of them. Which is unlikely. But I think they're going to do it. Or they can always catch and kill the Azima. But they have no idea where the Azima is. He hasn't been seen for the last 5 minutes. Less than 10 seconds to go and they'll take this cap. The enemy team are still 30 points ahead. With 16 seconds to go. There it is, they've taken the cap. Oh, they're still behind. Oh, there's the Azima. Well, I said they could take the cap or they could catch and kill the Azima. Either would do. And in fact, they ended up doing both. Didn't see that coming. I'm equally sure Bad Zeit didn't see that coming either, but I'm also equally sure that he's certainly not complaining. Anyway, moving on to the second of today's offerings. This is Source Boss 86 in the USS Maine. The Maine is one of those Tier 11 super ships. They're essentially wargaming's solution to the what do we do for all of the players who've been playing this game for years and accumulated hundreds of millions of credits. They're basically credit sinks. They only cost 1 XP to research, but they're all at least something like 46 million credits to purchase, and they're also very expensive to run. You don't earn money in these things. They're credit sinks. They're fun to play. They're all very powerful ships. I mean, in this case, the Maine is basically a Montana with an extra gun per turret. Yeah, I mean, the Montana already has a seriously heavy weight of broadside firepower, and this is like that, but with 25% more. Yeah, it's a good ship. Naturally, it also comes with a funny button, because, well, you know, why not? None of that, however, is going to be important. Not in this battle. I did actually consider giving this one its own dedicated video, rather than putting in a compilation like this, because I mean, it's not that Source Boss plays a bad game. Quite the opposite. He does play a very, very good game. It's just that the circumstances of the battle do make it very, very slow to watch. So we are going to be skipping long portions of this particular battle in order to get to the good stuff. Because what happens for Source Boss, you can see him heading out to the eastern flank here. is that his team either completely abandon this flank, leaving him on his own, or they all just die over here. Either way, he ends up on his own, trying to survive while holding this flank down against multiple enemies. In particular, you can see the airstrikes from the Golden Lion. Yeah, that guy. I don't actually think that the Dutch heavy cruisers are that good, because they're all basically built around the gimmick, the airstrike. You take away the airstrike and they're pretty bad ships. But that airstrike is pretty potent. And Sauceboss is going to be on the receiving end of it for most of this battle. The fact that he does actually manage to stay alive and hold the enemy team at bay over here is pretty impressive. It's just not particularly interesting to watch. This is, however, strangely enough, not one of those battles where, I mean, under normal circumstances, you'd think, well, if it's just Sauceboss alone against half the enemy team, though he's not alone at the moment, there's a friendly Azimut with him, but trust me, he's going to be alone before too long. If it's just him tying down a third of the enemy team all by himself, surely the rest of his team are going to outnumber the rest of the enemy team everywhere else on the map and should easily be able to wrap them up and take care of them. Normally that's the exact opposite of what happens. The rest of your team, despite the numerical advantage, get their asses handed to them by a numerically inferior enemy team elsewhere. That's normally what happens. Surprisingly, it's not what actually happens here. The rest of the team do actually capitalise on their numerical advantage, and they do whip the asses of the rest of the enemy team all the way over there to the western flank. That's not much consolation for Sauceboss, though, because he's still basically alone against the other third of the enemy team. Getting spanked, buying his team time to get those kills and wrap up the enemy opposition. It's not so much the kills, though, and in case you're wondering, the scores are reversed in this particular replay. That's Sauceboss's team on 260 points and the enemy team on 374, because the enemy team have 2 cap circles. I don't know what it was about Sauceboss's team here. That central cap at Bravo is completely open. There's nobody there. His team just seemed to be allergic to cap circles. So the kills are going to swing in their favour, and that's good. But despite racking up a kill advantage, the enemy team are still going to be way ahead on points because they're the ones actually playing the objectives and taking those cap circles. Oh, that was a good salvo on the Colombo. I mean, the main does have some serious firepower. But he's on fire. He's only got a third of his health left. And his heal's on cooldown. And here comes the Golden Lion again, trying to set even more fires and do even more damage with these really nasty airstrikes. Yep, double fire. There goes the damage control. You can see the struggle that Sauceboss is having here. Shots out again at the Christopher Columbus, and I mean, that thing's heavy caliber semi-armored piercing isn't exactly taking any prisoners either. That thing is a dangerous opponent. Most of the damage that Sauceboss has taken in this battle has been from the hands of the Golden Lion's airstrikes and the Christopher Columbus's large caliber semi-armored piercing. I mean, he's at nearly 2 million potential damage received so far, and the battle's not quite halfway through. Anyway, plenty more of this. Like I said, Sauceboss does a remarkable job of just staying alive and holding this flank down. But it's not particularly interesting just watching him dodge incoming fire for the next 10 minutes. So we're going to skip ahead to when things start getting interesting. There are less than 5 minutes of the battle remaining. There are only 2 enemy ships still surviving. The Golden Lion over there being one of them, and the other surviving enemy ship being the Devastation. Again, another super ship, all the way over on the western end of the map. Despite the 3-kill lead, however, Sauceboss's team are 400 points behind. Mostly because his team, only now, with less than 5 minutes of the battle remaining, they're only now starting to flip the caps. And funnily enough, yes, it's the battleships who are doing it. Friendly Ohio over at the cap circle of Alpha, and the friendly Conqueror in the cap circle at Bravo. Sauceboss was in the cap circle at Bravo. The Conqueror's taken over because he's chasing after the Golden Lion. Somebody has to. They're 400 points behind. They're about to be more than 400 points behind, though. There it is. The Devastation just nailed the Ohio, which leaves the Cassard. Surely the Cassard can get the devastation. I mean, he's got to be within torpedo range. Problem is, he might be within visual range. He's awfully close, which might mean that he's next. But somebody's got to flip the... In fact, I don't even think flipping the caps is going to do it at this point. Okay, they got the devastation, so that's clawed some points back. They're now only 400 points behind, with 3 minutes of the battle remaining. So the Petropavlovsk and the Cassard are now flipping the cap at Alpha, so they're going to take that comfortably. There's no longer any opposition over there. It's just the Golden Lion. And here, of course, is the problem. Now, you can see in chat there, Source Boss is telling the Conqueror, go for the cap circle at Charlie. I'm going to chase after the Golden Lion. Because with the time remaining in this battle, 2.5 minutes, I mean, it's going to take time for the Conqueror to get to the cap circle at Charlie. And to his credit, he is doing it. But I don't think, even if they take the cap at A, which they have done, the Petropavlovsk and the Cassard are now way too far away to assist in hunting down the Golden Lion. It's going to take time for the Conqueror to even get to the cap circle at Charlie, and then it's going to take time for him to flip it. And I don't think there's enough time remaining for them to make up the 400 points that they need to make up in the next 2 minutes in order to win this game on points. They must find and kill the Golden Lion. And, well, I mean, Source Boss has been alone against the Golden Lion the entire battle, so there's nothing changed here. But the Golden Lion has all of the advantages. Here comes another airstrike. Let's see how much damage this one's going to do. There it is. That's another 10% of his health and another fire. He's got no heals left, of course. There goes the damage control. He can't afford to keep burning. He doesn't have enough health left. The Golden Lion isn't going to be dumb enough to start shooting at him. Doesn't need to. The Conqueror's in the cap circle at Charlie now, so the Golden Lion's now stuck on 783 points, unless he can get a kill. And there's an excellent chance that he can. And that's not going to be good news for Source Boss. There's another airstrike. There goes another 10% of his health. Thing is, and Source Boss has just realised this himself, the Golden Lion doesn't even need to get a kill, because there's now less than a minute of the battle left, and he's still 300 points ahead. The Conqueror hasn't even finished flipping the cap at Charlie. There is no way they are making up the points difference in the less than 1 minute before this battle ends. There's another airstrike. There's a fire. His damage control's on cooldown for the next minute. He's not putting that fire out. Source Boss is a dead man. He needs to kill the Golden Lion to win. The Golden Lion doesn't even need to kill him to win. Because why not? He probably doesn't even need to land another airstrike. This fire alone is probably going to kill him. But if he has to, he can just keep cycling the airstrikes, farm some more damage. He's going to win anyway, stay undetected. Job done. And then, with the Golden Lion still 300 points ahead, with 12 seconds to go, he decides he's going to start shooting. The fire alone is going to kill Source Boss. But now he's given Source Boss a chance, and the fire does kill him. Why would you do that? Why? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, this one nearly made its own episode of A Game of Thrones. Why would the... Okay, fair enough. The fire alone was not going to kill Source Boss. There was an armor-piercing hit from the Golden Lion there for about 2,500 damage. He would have only just survived the fire. But he didn't need to kill him. He was going to win. He was 300 points ahead with 12 seconds to go. But he just had to try to win that a little bit harder, didn't he? I mean, he got the kill. He got what he wanted. But it cost him the match. So you can see why this one was a contender for its own episode of A Game of Thrones. Sadly, the battle itself, large portions of it, just kind of dull to watch. But hey, congratulations. A win's a win. And you can thank the enemy Golden Lion for it, because he just had to try to win that a little bit harder. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed both of today's battles, or at least the edited highlights of them. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.